The sun rose on day one of the road to Big Red. After yet another unforgettable breakfast at Casey's in Longreach, the boys and I hit the local shops for some supplies. My company for the next few days would be Ollie Wickham and Nathan Morris, and we get to know each other pretty well inside our loaded four-wheel drive. With Longreach in the rearview mirror, our first stop was Noonbar Station to meet Angus Emmett, a man with 9 species of creatures, great and small, named after him.
From lizards to subspecies of birds to spiders. Apart from being a grazier, I'm very interested in natural history, always have been, and part of that I've become an honorary research associate of the Queensland Museum. So I've been classically looking at stuff out here for many, many years and collecting material and handing it into the museum. And every now and again something will get named, and every now and again some of the researchers actually are nice enough to put my name on them, so yeah, it's pretty neat.
Angus's grandmother acquired the 40,000 acres of land on which Noonbar Station sits in 1914, and there's not much that he and his wife Karen don't try their hands at.
We raise beef cattle, and every now and again we even make money out of it. We're down to one horse these days. We also got a couple of milking cows. I milk a cow every morning, so we have our own milk and we kill our own meat and grow most of our own veggies. Part of my natural history interests include natural history books, so I've got a fairly substantial library. We do run a tourism operation, which is mainly camping on our waterholes, and I do natural history guided tours if people wish. But we've also got, as well as the old schoolhouse, is a 5-bedroom homestead that Karen and I used to live in as well. So we do have some accommodation there for those that don't wish to spend time with the flies.
We were treated to an incredible banquet on the back deck, overlooking a custom-built animal refuge.
Karen and I are both wildlife carers. Build a big wetland there to attract birds, but we've also got part of it for young kangaroos.
But there weren't many around on that day, so I ended up getting up close and personal with someone a little less fluffy.
Like this, she's going to tell between the legs.
But way more cuddly.
Is that his tail between your legs, or are you just happy to see me?
His is about a 9-foot-long carpet python. His is being looked after as wildlife carers for the time being. Oh, just a beautiful big carpet python. I believe he's about, or she I should say, is about 25 years old. Probably a bit overweight. Probably shouldn't feed him quite so many rats, but she's a fair bit of snake.
Noonbar Station is an unreal spot. There's plenty to do, and you're close enough to town without being in anyone else's pocket. We ran out of time and had to go, but I'll be looking for any excuse to get back out to Angus's patch of paradise. With full stomachs and places to be, Nathan, Ollie and I hit the road once again on our way to Stonehenge from Noonbar Station. Angus Emmett described the change of scenery best when he said, "The landscape becomes open Mitchell grass downs on grey, cracking clays, with gidgee woodlands running up into residual hills with mulga and lancewood." Always the nature expert is Angus. It wasn't too long until we encountered something quite unusual. Our first hill of the trip. Spread out all over the wide, flat area on top was the Stonehenge address book. Not your typical Refidex or diary, this spot has become quite the tourist attraction. Ollie took me through it.
The story goes that in the 80s, a postman, Johnny Weston, was broken down and he was on his way from Junda, and he decided to write Junda on the hill. And of course, in old bush tradition, there is plenty of rivalry between each town. So then the people of Stonehenge wrote a bigger name, and then a lot of the shearers along the way and a lot of locals then started throwing their names down. And then with, the boom in outback tourism, we've been seeing this just expand, and it's become one of those sites you have to hit on your way through Stonehenge. It's one of the key places to go. When I first moved out here, people were like, "Oh, you've got to get your name up on the hill." So I do.
After signing my name, rather unspectacularly compared to some of the sign-ins, it was a short drive to the town of Stonehenge, where we enjoyed our first cold one of the trip. Behind the counter was Estelle from France, who was in town to get a taste of the Australia she dreamed about.
It's really authentic, and it's more the image that I had from Australia than Sydney, actually. It was a really good experience, and I think it's going to be one of the most incredible experiences that I had in my life. I met so many nice people, really friendly and helpful and always happy and they don't need anything to be happy. And when you're living in big city and stuff, you just like always want more, always want some stuff to being more happy. And here actually you don't need anything. You're just enjoying the sunset with a beer and that's it, you're happy.
With day one of our adventure winding up, we said au revoir to Estelle and Stonehenge and hit the road for Windora, where we'd be calling it a night. After enjoying an afternoon at the Stonehenge address book and pub, Nathan, Ollie and I were bound for Windora, our final port of call for the day. Pulling into town was like getting a small taste of things to come at the Birdsville Big Red Bash. The Western Star Hotel had patrons overflowing to the outdoor seating in the front and back, and we wasted no time joining them for a hard-earned cold one. While we waited for our feed to be served, the evening's entertainment pulled up in a rather unconventional way.
Well, we found the car for something a little bit different. We were using little trolleys and stuff like that, and then we found this car in an antique shop in Toowoomba, made by a lovely man back in the 70s, so it's a bit of a classic piece as well. And over the years we've just sorted it out to actually outfit the PA, which is all run by batteries. A little motor inside the Jeep makes it work, and since then we've got like 6 others, so we can bring a whole heap of them and have a great little moving act.
The Memphis Movers treated us to a bunch of covers and original tunes, while daylight turned to dusk. It had been a big day, but we weren't quite ready to call it quits. We'd come to town right on time for the Windora Bullock Ride, so we thought what better way to spend the night. The local school was proudly showing off their growing collection of cans to cash in through the container recycling program. They'd probably be able to afford a few new buildings by the time the night was over. Our attention turned to the bullock riding, which served up plenty of moments. Epic and not so epic. I caught up with young cowboy Sally Malay to talk about the appeal of an 8-second ride.
Yeah, like won the rookie riding title and done pretty well that Christmas during the season down in Victoria and all that. I love riding bulls and team roping and that, eh? Bull riding's been my whole life since I've been a kid and hadn't changed. Like, if I'm not riding bulls, to be honest, I'm not too sure what I'm going to be doing. I can't ride bikes. And yeah, that's me. I just love bull riding. It's just the adrenaline rush, good family sport. Kids can barrel race, kids can rope, kids can grow up and be a bull rider. And that's how I grew up. But like none of my brothers and that and sisters, they all play all basketball and football. I was the only kid out and I was the oldest and I just love rodeoing. I had a few injuries and you just go past, you just push yourself past it and that's about it really, eh? You just have a go.
The bullocks bucked on, but it was bedtime for us boys. Our big adventure was off to a great start. Now, we left Windora a little earlier this morning, had a lovely stay in Windora, and we've just now passed back through Windora, which can only really mean one thing. Means that we've changed our course. The course that we were hoping to go on started getting a few question marks about it, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't get caught out hundreds of kilometres off the beaten track, so to speak, heading towards the Diamantina National Park today. Ollie, we were driving from Windora back towards Junda Way to take a turn off, I think it was onto the Connemara Road. But what happened, Ollie?
Well, yeah, so we had, last night in my wisdom, just before I went to sleep, I decided to read the map and change plans or, set a course. And I did the numbers and worked out the shortest route, the least number of Ks by about 30K was to take the Connemara Road. And I thought, yeah, we'll just take it. It looks like it might be a bit rough, but we should be able to get through. Then, as we talked about it this morning, we all kind of agreed that it was potentially going to be a rough road, but also because of the potential for there still to be a little bit of wet in some of the channels, we thought we would check with some of the locals. So first thing we did is we called Davenport Downs and a number of other stations through the way that we're going to be heading towards. Unfortunately, we couldn't get through to them because we'd left a bit late and people were probably out and about busy with their day. So then we called the ranger through at the Diamantina National Park and he confirmed our suspicions and said, yeah, we should probably go around. And at the same time, I also called Bruce Scott, Mayor of Barcoo Shire, for his local knowledge on it. And he basically said, don't go that way or we'll fall off the edge of the earth. So we hastily turned around and we headed back to Windora and now we're on our road heading out the more slightly more beaten track, basically, but it still is off the beaten track.
And along that track we would head, racing the clock now to meet up with a drover moving a monster herd of cattle from the drought-affected Barclay Tablelands in the Northern Territory into the Channel Country. I thought a wedge-tailed eagle nearly taking my drone would be the most exciting part of my day, but boy was I wrong. When I set my eyes upon the incredible feat that drover John Sylvester was tasked with undertaking, I couldn't believe my eyes. It seemed like cattle as far as the eye could see, but the mammoth mission didn't seem to faze the cool, calm and collected Sylvester. We spent some time with him and his pups as he described the impact of the drought on the country as seen through his eyes. A stark contrast of the land teeming with life and water that lied ahead. John the drover carried on with his impressive muster, and we carried on towards the Diamantina National Park. Coincidentally, our refuge for the night was going to be at the old drover's cabin at the ranger's base. We pulled up at our destination and Chris Mitchell, the ranger in charge of the Diamantina National Park at the time, introduced himself to us. He took Ollie, Nathan and I on a brief tour of our lodgings before we headed off all together on a tour of our recently flooded surroundings.
We call it Big Sky Country because you can see from horizon to horizon. You can actually see a full moon and sunset at exactly the same time on 180 degree horizons. So it's just magic seeing the big moon come up over the horizon as the sun set on the other horizon. There's not too many places where you can actually see that. Yeah, but the Diamantina River, some of the old people call it Kirrindiri, is the main factor of it. The Aboriginal name actually means giver of life. So that's what it is. It supplies life for a quarter of Queensland nearly. And when it floods, it's immense. So there's that, but then there's the interaction with sand dunes. And there's not too many places in southwest Queensland that have all the waterways going between the sand dunes. So that's about a quarter of the park. It's got flood area with sand dunes in the middle. And then the other areas, you've obviously got the jump up country where there's been a lot of unique species recorded, the night parrot, etc. And then you've just got some straight Mitchell grass. So it's basically broken up into quarters, and that's the way it works.
But the sun was setting, so we made trails for Janet's Leap Lookout on top of the gates, where the vast, breathtaking natural beauty of the Diamantina National Park stretched out to the horizon before us. That night we'd all get together for a barbecue, and you guessed it, some beers. Despite our road trip to the Birdsville Big Red Bash being a full tilt affair, we couldn't help but feel rested and relaxed as we left the Diamantina National Park in our rearview mirrors and set off on our home stretch. We'd occasionally stop to swap drivers or ogle at emus as they scampered across the plains, but for the most part our scenery was just that. Wide, open plains, as far as the eye can see. I don't know if I'm alone in thinking this, but to this day, the sight still excites me and I can't get enough. I won't watch paint dry or grass grow, but I could spend all day looking out over vast, endless nothing. But no matter how comfortable you get driving in the outback, you can never let your guard down because disaster might be just around the corner. Bloody hell. As night crept over and 60 kilometres out of Birdsville, Nathan found himself wrench in hand, kneeling in the dirt.
Yeah, driving along, felt the tyre go. It looks like it's actually blown. I don't know, I wasn't speeding. Someone's going to stop to help us.
Good. Do you need any help?
No, we're all good, thanks.
I saw you're doing a show, are you?
Well, actually, no, we had a legitimate tyre pop, but thanks for checking in.
Okay, no worries. Cheers, mate.
Meanwhile, I was trying to work out the satellite phone so that we could let our base camp at the Birdsville Big Red Bash know that we were going to be a little bit late. Serendipitously, we got onto Ollie's partner Maddie, who was on top of Big Red at the time, the only place you could get reliable reception at the festival.
Need to hand it all, Nathan.
Hello? This is Dan. This is Dan on the satellite phone. Yeah, we got a busted tyre. Dan Prosser with Ollie.
About 60 k's from Birdsville.
60 k's out of Birdsville.
Fixing it.
We're okay. We're just letting. Yeah.
We're all good.
We're fixing things. No dramas. It's just the spanner in the wokes.
Tire pressure.
Yeah, everyone's fine. Yes. Now Ollie had taken over from Nathan and was hard at work putting the new tyre on.
Nathan had the great idea to dig the hole a bit deeper. A handy trick if you're out in the bush and you can. Makes it easy to put the tyre on. And good on old mate who has New South Wales plates. Come on the Blues. Yeah, we're kind of just chucking the wheel nuts in now. It's an odd one. We were just going along the bitumen. There wasn't any dirt involved.
Quick thinking and pit crew skills to rival Formula One ensured that our motley crew made it to the Birdsville Hotel for a refreshment and then on to our final destination, the Birdsville Big Red Bash. 3 massive days. Over 1,000 kilometres on and off road. For one monster festival. We'd made it. And from our perch atop Big Red, the mighty sand dune after which the festival is named, what a sight it was to behold. We were surrounded by thousands of fellow music lovers and adventure seekers, and from sunrise in the chilly mornings to sunset in the rowdy evenings, not once did we encounter a shred of negativity. As a festival, some sights were familiar, while others were one of a kind is a way to put it kindly.
3, 2, 1, away! Whoa, the dust was flying. Look at this. He's going surfing, mate. It's a long way to Byron Bay.
During the dusty days, we got busy broadcasting a statewide radio show featuring many of the music legends on the lineup. My personal favourites were The Living End and Busby Marou, but we'll always bring up a memorable discussion with Steve Kilby from the church. I even took part in the world record-setting nutbush attempt, but I was too busy dancing to film anything. When the sun went down, the volume turned up, and we were treated to some unforgettable music performances. Against my better judgment, you're about to hear from The Living End and headline act Midnight Oil. Hopefully they don't take this video down, or I'll have to replace their music with stock tunes. All the acts I got to see thoroughly impressed and entertained me, and I wish I was getting ready to head out to Birdsville again this year, but as we know, it's been cancelled. As we packed up our trusty Prado and hit the road after 3 days of dusty desert action, I had plenty of time to reflect on the long drive home. I consider myself so lucky to be able to go on incredible trips like this, with cracker blokes like Ollie and Nathan. I don't take for granted that every now and then I get to have adventures like this as part of my job, and if my next expedition is even half as good, I'll be a very happy lad indeed. Our journey was almost complete, and we were heading home on the road to Big Red.